This is the Toynami 100 VF-1 toy. I'm starting this review in Garrick Mode because that's how it comes shipped. As you see, it comes with a display stand and a gun and hands, fixed post hands. One can hold the gun. There's also an open grip if you wanted to have the gun in one hand and an open grip in the other. The display stand has a weakness in that it supports the Batroid by the back, near the backpack section, and so if you were to go for a pose where the wings were open, it's no longer going to support where the legs are, so they might just dangle back behind the toy, depending on where your point of gravity is. So that's one weakness to note about the display stand. The other weakness to note is that on the version 1, or series 1 of these toys, this little rubber cup, which has a little hollow point right here, breaks, and it can't really support the weight of the toy. So you could have it on there for a day or two, and then you're going to find your toy on the ground. Moving back to the toy itself, it's a actually moderate amount of articulation. I would say good amount of articulation, actually. Swivels at the knees. You have your Garrick joint. You also have, everything's just pegged together, so you're going to be able to pull this toy apart pretty easily. You'll note there are kneecaps. The feet have this kind of articulation to them, so you can have different poses, like that kind of thing going on. As you just saw, the gun, especially on Series 1, falls apart. Falls apart often and easily. So you have legs that fall apart, plus guns that fall apart. You might notice that become a theme at some point here. So for now, I'm just going to give him his fist back. Oh, look, arms that fall apart. Here is the main durability issue with these toys. They have little rings that everything pegs into, and these rings are cracking. Here you can see that one's cracked. On just about everyone I know's 1/100 scale Toynami toy. So, the crack doesn't make the toy worthless, but it makes it so all the joints fall out a lot easier. So anyways, getting back to articulation. The elbow joint can only go to about there. The shoulders can rock back and forth, and up and down to some extent. And obviously they can spin around also. Head's on a ball joint. The guns move. There's nothing like a waist point or geez, that guy falls out easily. There's no waist point or like a back joint or anything like that, but that would be pretty crazy. The tail section here, you can see it kind of falling down because I had it on the display stand, but it actually locks into place, which becomes pretty key if you get the aftermarket super parts that are available. One common complaint with this toy is that the skull and crossbones is actually puffy on the heat shield. I don't think anyone knows why Toynami opted to do it that way. But that's kind of all I can think of for the Batroid mode. Let's check out the other modes. Here is Garrick Mode. The toy comes packaged with 4 standard TV style missiles. Also a set of 4 Do You Remember Love missiles. The big weakness to Garrick Mode is that there is no peg between the vent in the hip and the main plate of the vehicle. And as a result, if this head falls back a little bit, you're going to get the legs to fall forward. And so if you put it on a stand trying to do some sort of crazy pose, you might end up with a Garrick that looks something like that, which, not right at all. So, something to be aware of. Obviously that has repercussions in fighter mode as well. The only difference here, the only part swapping that was necessary to get from Garrick to Batroid was changing out the canopy from the heat shield. That's about it though. The toy has a lot of range of movement in this mode because of the way the feet are built. You can have a lot of fun with it. Alright, let's move on to the next mode. Here is fighter mode. A common complaint is that the backpack looks like it's angled upward, and it is a little bit. That grabs some people more than others. I've attached all the accessories here, but if you're going from Gerwalk to fighter mode and you didn't want the landing gears and you didn't care about the gun, all you'd really have to do is remove the fists, and if you didn't care about them poking out the back, you wouldn't even have to do that. But a lot of people are going to want the landing gears on here. It does come with a display stand, so they're not really completely necessary. But the landing gears are not integral to the toy. They're separate pieces that need to be plugged in, as is the gun, which just fell off. So the gun attaches via this little black plastic T, and then the gun. So if you don't care about having that underneath, you don't need it. Get back to the landing gears here. And this guy will pull right off. Okay. So these doors just flip around to close back up. And there you go. So this would be, if you didn't have those landing gears attached, this is what the toy is going to look like. You know, the missiles stay on pretty well. No problems there. The biggest weakness of fighter mode is that there's nothing attaching to the backpack. And because of that, if you're fiddling around with the back of the toy, you can just remove the whole bottom section. Since these are all just pegs that fit into slots, it comes off just like that. It can go back in pretty easy, but still, definitely kind of annoying. And again, there's no pegs hooking up these guys, so if you start posing it, you might find the hip intakes are starting to slide away from the chest a little bit. Usually that's more of a problem in Gerwalk mode than it is in fighter mode, but you know, just one more example how this thing doesn't really come together in fighter mode as well as it should. You know, overall, had this, had the MPC that Toynami released been this toy, but in 1/65 scale with integral landing gears, Toynami would have really gone far. But as a 1/100 scale with everything that's just pegged together and not integral to the toy, it's a $20 toy, and that's what they sell it for. So, not a complete waste of money. Compared to other 1/100 toys, it actually has a lot of upside to it. But, clearly it's still a flawed toy. Visit anymoon.com for comparisons to the line art and other toys in the same or similar scales. And for more comments and more detail. Thank you.